Our next speaker is Emma Richardson. And Emma originally worked in banking. Interesting, Emma. And was busy raising 3 children when she joined the new CAT assistance team as a volunteer, wanting to make a positive difference for animals. She became CAT coordinator in 2023. Emma enjoys helping compassionate people who take in stray cats by organising desexing and microchipping, building enclosures and finding solutions to nuisance issues so that these cats can stay with their owners and with their carers. She also delights in finding working cat placements for unsocialised cats. So we now welcome Emma Richardson, CAT Assistance Team, support in the community to prevent stray and abandoned cats.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having me. So this presentation covers the who, what, when, where, why and how of a CAT assistance team, or CAT for short. The aim is to provide some practical information to assist councils and welfare groups to set up a similar program to prevent and minimise harm to the people, cats and the wildlife. So just a little bit of a background about AWL and the CAT team. So AWL manages the pounds for 3 councils, Brisbane and the Gold Coast. They're the 2 largest councils by population in Australia, and also Ipswich City Council. Over the years, we've had a strong focus on prevention of stray and impounded cats and dogs. We have set up community vet clinics in the 3 council areas to offer low-cost desexing and full vet services so that no animal has to be surrendered or euthanised just because the owner might not be able to afford the vet care. We started the National Desexing Network in 2005 and have been running desexing programs for councils since 2010. Our National Getting to Zero program shares strategies and support to councils and animal welfare groups. Our most recent prevention program is the CAT Assistance Team in the community, which was started in July 2022. So in the next few slides, we will explain what the CAT team does each day to prevent stray cats, nuisance issues and impounding. And most of our time is spent outdoors in the community. We also work out of the pound, so we spend a lot of our time in shelter. So the CAT team, we actively seek out people who need support. Owners of cats who can't afford desexing, or they're just feeding multiple strays in their area. We walk the streets, we talk to people in their yards on their way to or from work. We letterbox, drop flyers, we talk to businesses and community groups. They help us out with, advertising or word of mouth to get our program out there. We post on local suburban Facebook sites. We respond to found cat posts. So a member of a lot of the community groups in the area, there's always cat issues posted on there. So we make contact and we invite them to fill out our stray cat form. We've also started recruiting cat ambassadors. So they are, individuals in our core target suburbs, and they find stray cats in the suburb and they support people to get their cats in for desexing with our help. We look for solutions to cause the least harm when we try to solve nuisance issues. For example, this is one of our volunteers. They're installing a water deterrent spray. This was for a woman who was having issues with her neighbour's cats who were constantly coming into her yard. She had concerns about her wildlife and she didn't have any solutions from speaking to her neighbour. So when we visit, we ask where the cat's coming from, which direction. We walk the streets. We also go behind the house in a 5 to 10 house radius to try and find the owners or someone who might be caring for that cat. Once the owner or the carer of the cat's found, we offer support like $50 desexing, or for free if they're having any issues with finances. Microchipping, and we help with ways to contain their cat to prevent it roaming and causing more nuisance. We also offer help with cat carriers. We help out with transport to the vet clinic if they don't have any means to get there themselves. If a stray cat is unsocialised, as you can see here, We have a drop trap. They are successful when a cat is shy of your standard box trap that we use for trapping. Once they are desexed, if there is an owner or carer, we can provide litter trays, igloo beds. We help with a process for socialising the cat if they're interested in taking ownership of them, just to help it be comfortable living indoors. We also build cat-safe fences, like Jackie touched on. When needed, we deliver cat food if they're struggling. We provide vet treatment if their cats are sick or injured. If there is no owner or carer found for an unsocialised cat, we may return the cat to where it came from, desexed and microchipped to an organisation, as Jackie touched on in the previous speech. In our case, it's the research project, but I'll go on a little bit more about that later. So if anyone finds the cat sick or injured, or if the cat is brought into a vet clinic, they can just scan the cat for the microchip and contact them for help. Animal welfare organisations can also have the cat microchipped to them. We are hoping that eventually legislation across Australia will support this so it can be a bit more of a common practice. However, if we cannot return the cat due to nuisance issues or risk of harm for the cat, we do have the working cat option, which is my favourite. So a great example of a working cat success story is that of Steve and Annie. So Steve and Annie were two stray cats that came into the pound in Ipswich. They were timid, they were shy, they were struggling in the shelter. They'd been on medication, behavioural programs, and they just were not having any success, but were otherwise very, very healthy. Luckily, Graham, who lived in Gatton, which is quite a regional town in Queensland, came along. He'd heard about our working cat program through a friend, and he was having a lot of issues with mice, rats, vermin in his barn attacking his feed. He was spending lots of money on pest control, and he was sick of it. He was also very worried about secondary poisoning with the poison he was using. It might injure the wildlife. So Steve and Annie came home with him. They were set up in his barn with a crate to get them used to the area, food, litter. Graham would visit them every day to get them used to the area. 4 months later, they are still there. They're free roaming in the barn. There's barely any, if any, like at all, rats and mice, and Graham is thrilled because he's not spending any money on, quite harmful pest control. The cats are happy, the vets are happy, and the shelter staff, who had a very, they had a bond with Steve and Annie. They cared for them when they came in. They're happy because they do not have to be killed. An excellent example of the range of actions a cat program can take is the story of Terry and Joyce. Terry had about 15 to 20 cats roaming on a suburban yard in central Ipswich, spraying under her house, pooing all over the yard. She was worried about them attacking birds in her trees. She used to be an agricultural teacher, and her father had traditionally killed cats on their farm. So she started trapping these cats and bringing them into the pound. The cat team visited Terry and all the surrounding houses. We discovered 80-year-old Joyce, as you can see. She was living next door. She had lots of cats and kittens sitting out in the yard, enjoying the sun, and then when anyone approached, they would run under her laundry. Joyce told us that a mother cat had been dumped outside of her property and has had at least 6 litters of kittens at her place. Her son-in-law used to catch a few of every litter and bring them into the pound, but the other ones that were left would keep breeding, so the number climbed and stayed. Terry was introduced to Joyce and saw that Joyce was already upset that some of her cats had gone missing. Terry agreed to keep trapping, but instead of bringing them into the pound, she would call us. We would collect the trap, we'd check with Joyce to see if the cat was hers, and then we would take the cat to the community vet clinic for free desexing and microchipping, and we would return to Joyce. 6 cats were returned to Joyce altogether. One of these, Hoppy, he was born with a deformed leg, so the vets amputated that for Hoppy. Meanwhile, the CAT team worked with the local Royal Air Force to build an inverted fence around her house with a gate front and back. That way Joyce could still go downstairs, she could sit with her cats, she could watch them eat, but they weren't escaping. The local Bunnings actually provided half of the fencing materials for us, and AWLQ covered the cost of the rest. 4 trapped kittens were desexed and fostered for rehoming through the shelter. Another 3 adult cats were not Joyce's, so 2 were socialised into foster care and rehomed. 1 was unable to be handled, so he was settled in as a working cat to catch rats and mice in a woodworking factory. The original mother cat, who used to sit on top of the traps, refusing to go in, disappeared. She came back and gave birth to yet another litter underneath the laundry, very inaccessible. When the kittens were about 4 to 5 weeks old, they were out in the yard. Mama cat was finally caught with a drop trap, which you saw in the previous slide. She was desexed and returned to Joyce. The last 5 kittens were trapped, fostered, socialised and rehomed. So success story. Terry was happy because her nuisance issues were solved. She no longer had any cats jumping into her yard. There was no spraying. There was no kittens being bred. And she had wildlife back in her garden. She said she appreciated being part of a more compassionate approach. Joyce was really happy because the breeding was stopped and she still had some cats to care for who were now getting a little bit more friendly after desexing. The rehoming team were happy as 6 unsocialised adult cats, which would have been very difficult to manage and rehome, had avoided coming into the pound altogether. The cats all lived. They were all safe, they were all fed, and they were comfortable. Vets and the vet nurses were happy that they were desexing these unsocialised cats and giving them another chance at life. The cat team were happy. We'd managed to support the well-being of all involved. The people, the cats, the wildlife, the shelter staff, the vets who do this work, balancing all their various needs to achieve the least harm. Okay, so who's needed in a cat assistance team? What we have our strategic director, the lovely Joy. We have 3 part-time coordinators, so that's equivalent to 1.5 full-time staff. We have 4 part-time vets who do after hours or on-call shifts. They are invaluable. This is only the minimum required. Of course, if budget allows, the more the merrier. We are lucky to have 4 to 5 regular volunteers. They dedicate about 1 day a week. We are expanding our volunteer involvement through more flexible roles. So assisting with people transporting their cats to the vet clinic, trappers, or they come in 1 day a month for desexing days. They even come in and help us build enclosures when they need to. Animal management officers. Hello. They are an essential part of any cat assistance team, and their assistance is invaluable to us. Because AWL manages the pound for the Ipswich Council, the council impound information is shared with us. So people who request a trap, we can make contact with them, we can find out what their issue is. They are approached when they're on site if they come in, and we get to know what the situation is so we can work with them and work to prevent the issue so the cat doesn't have to come into the pound altogether. We contact those on the trap hire wait list. We assist with deterrents like water spray deterrents, building fences again. So we are really happy to liaise with our AMOs that we work with. They do contact us as well if there's significant multi-cat issues in certain suburbs, if people are really struggling with cats and need assistance. Our stray cat form, on the council website, we have a stray cat form that's there to help people report any nuisance issues of cats. It then comes directly to us, and we contact the complainant pretty much straight away to try and help out with any issues before that they hire a trap. The general community are an important part of any cat program, providing information on social media, helping with assistance, volunteering, spreading the good word. Carolyn here on the left came into contact with us when she was having issues with nuisance. Again, just a neighbour's cat coming into her yard, bothering her. She heard what we were doing with Joyce. She grabbed her van, she went to Bunnings, she picked up the materials, and she helped us build this fence. And the happy story is that we were eventually able to help her with her issues, and the cat was desexed and enclosed. The cat assistance team works closely with the Australian Pet Welfare Foundation that you just saw before. The Community Cat Research Program provides data and support to find and desex cats. APWF received a grant for a van and has an MOU with AWL for us to use it, which has been invaluable. A research permit from the Queensland Government allows desexing of cats who appear to be unowned, and we return them to where they live in specific targeted suburbs. An owner or carer is often found for most of these cats. The CAT team works closely with RSPCA Queensland Community Liaison Officer, hi Nadia, for the community cat research. We're always sharing information. We work together to find and trap cats and transport them for desexing. We communicate weekly and we often collaborate on large projects. The CAT program works in Ipswich City Council. It's got a population of about 210, maybe 240,000. Due to limited resources, 6 suburbs have been targeted based on the factors: high intake to the pound per 1,000 residents, proximity to vet clinics, and again, adjoining suburbs to avoid any migration from surrounding suburbs. We also help in other suburbs with significant multi-cat situations which might be identified by council. The aim is to work more intensively in other suburbs when the target's achieved and more resources are allowed. So why are we necessary? Why is a CAT program necessary? Because the old ways are not working, as you heard from Jackie. Although many of the actions taken by the animal management are being done for public health and safety or conserving wildlife, there's just no evidence, again, like Jackie showed, that these goals are being achieved by responding to CAT complaints with impounding and killing. Research shows that trap and kill programs are ineffective in the long term, they're not cost effective, and they're unacceptable to a large proportion of people in the community. When cats are being euthanised in pounds, many people are reluctant to report stray cats to the council because they know exactly what happens. So by taking away a few nuisance cats, council create a greater abundance of food for cats in neighbouring streets, who then breed more frequently, so the problem continues. Wrong one. Another reason why we need a cat assistance team: we help in the community, we prevent harm. Research shows serious damage to the mental health of shelter staff, vets and vet nurses and the people in the community who feed and care for stray cats when cats are impounded or euthanised. So the current ways are harming rather than helping public health. Studies of human and animal brains show that ethics is based on 2 fundamental facts about people and other animals. We value survival and well-being. We are interdependent and have empathy to prevent and minimise harm and support thriving. International consensus principles for ethical wildlife control advocate for firstly altering, I don't know if I've spoken this many words in front of people for a while. So, I'm just going to skip along because I know I'm going to have to wrap this up very soon. I practiced this a lot and it didn't go on this long. So an ethical approach to more animal management involves supporting all stakeholders to minimise harm, not only for the people who complain about cats, but for the people who care about the lives of cats and wildlife and the cats and wildlife themselves. So how do you organise your own cat team? Start by identifying the suburbs with a high number of roaming cats. As Jackie said, identify the suburbs with a high number of roaming cats by the number of cat complaints and the combined intake pound of shelter per 1,000 residents. When choosing the suburb, consider how close you are to a vet clinic and what resources you have at hand, and if you can service that. Next is to engage with relevant stakeholders to discuss the plan and get their input. AMO coordinators, your local government, shelter management and staff, and rescue group coordinators. The next step is to organise speedy, low-cost desexing to optimise the amount of cats being desexed. Find a shelter or a local community vet, use the vet clinic after hours, engage with vets who can work after hours, volunteer vet nurses, and of course your general volunteers are a huge, huge help for intake of cats. Organising equipment and resources. We obviously rely heavily on our van or any car. So all of these resources are available on the Getting to Zero website, so I will just click through these and not go into them too much. Again, the equipment that you'll need: a van to transport, some box cat traps, a drop trap for difficult cats, cat carriers, some water spray deterrents, blankets, sheets, curtains to cover the carriers. We have a handbook for our volunteers and for our staff as a guideline for our program. We use Book It Live when we have our intensive desexing days, so members of the public can go on there. They pay $50 online. We get all their details and their cat's details, so we can just transfer them to vet consent, microchip. So. Promotional resources, again, this is all on the Getting to Zero website, so you can go back and check through there. Promotion, social media is a huge one, engaging with your local community groups. To start the program, just get out into the community, engage with the people who would know about nuisance cats, your local community groups, welfare. All right, I'm getting off there. I'm just going to wrap it up. So just lastly, just to kind of show that you can't really judge a cat on its behaviour in its trap or in the shelter. This is Tank. Tank was pretty reactive in the shelter. He was given to a kitchen and bathroom factory as a working cat. He was trained very quickly that biting ankles was not acceptable. He stayed there for quite some time until he was taken home with Paul, and he now snuggles with his Dachshund pups. So, yeah, really lovely, happy story. We hope this has been useful. I'm sorry that I had to kind of rush through the last ones. I look forward to hearing more, and let us know if you have any questions about starting your own cat program.